And it finally happened. Europe is going nuclear. Trump has been saying all along, even in his first presidency, he has said that Europe needs to take charge of its own security. You're just way behind. You're not doing enough. Well, now that you're not counting with the USA anymore, this is what it looks like. Guys, as always, welcome to the Modern Survival channel. We need to analyze these things so as to get better prepared. You have the channel with a lot of information. I really recommend my books, 3 Survival Skills and Surviving the Economic Collapse. Both are very important, giving everything you see happening in the United States, Europe, and all over the world. The economic aspect of preparedness is now more important than ever before. Unfortunately, we're seeing lots of the things we saw in Argentina, maybe in a little bit more slow motion, maybe at times not so much. Some of the things that are happening in the United States in terms of the economy, it is going, the inflation is going to hit people like a train, especially in the United States, but all over the world too. For that, you have the books over there. So what is it that it looks like when Europe finally takes care of its own security? Macron has just said we must be ready if US no longer on our side. Okay, let's take a look at this.
Macron says he plans to discuss sharing France's nuclear deterrence with its European allies. He made the announcement during a national televised address to the nation in which he expressed uncertainty over the transatlantic partnership with the US as Washington moves closer to Moscow.
Yeah, that's another one. It's one thing to say, okay, guys, you have to take care of yourselves, and we're not going to be, you can dismantle NATO, right? NATO is no more. I think we all get it at this point. I mean, you have to be living under a rock so as to believe that there's any chance that NATO with the United States still exists. But this is another thing to say, all right, but you're not on our side, but you're on the other side. That's a different story, and that is cause for concern.
Under a looming Russia and the fracturing transatlantic alliance, the French president has made an urgent rallying cry and evoked the possibility of nuclear defense.
Russia has become a threat to France and Europe. I want to believe that the US will stand by us, but we have to be ready if this is not the case.
This guy, you may like Macron or not. I think he's a little bit of a weasel. My personal opinion. I don't know the guy. Maybe he's the nicest guy on the planet. But one thing you cannot say about Macron is that he's not a clever politician. He's not an idiot. He's very, he's Rothschild banker kind of guy, right? He's very clever. He's not going hard against US, but this is as hard as you'll ever hear Macron talk about the United States.
But we have to be ready if this is not the case.
Right,
I want to believe that the US will stand by us, but we have to be ready if this is not the case.
There you go. That's as much as Macron will take shots at as US, but basically saying out loud what we already see, which is, no, the United States is no longer a part of NATO, and what you have now is still like the continuing motion of things that were there, but for all practical purposes, you cannot count on US for security in Europe. And here is where Macron finally has his chance. Macron has always been very big on the idea of having a European army. This is something that obviously Russia did not like. This is something that obviously a lot of members of the European Union did not like because they don't like spending money on anything, right? Which I guess makes sense, but there's a point at which you have to be realistic, okay? You have to defend yourself. You need to be able to defend yourself. There's this thing that a lot of people don't quite understand. People, if Russia does... No, Europe without US is still 12 times the economy that Russia is. Europe has more weapons. Europe has more men. Europe has more of everything if it ever comes down to fighting Russia. Europe can definitely beat Russia if it comes to that. It's of course a lot easier if you have the United States as well. Basically, Europe altogether has kind of like on the same level of all of the United States together, right? US and all of Europe, basically in terms of weapons and whatnot, it's not exactly the same, and you have to look at tanks, ships, planes, manpower, weapon. It is a lot more complex than that. But basically, yes, Europe can, but it needs to be organized. Now, one of the things that Europe did not have, or not have as a collective, is nuclear weapons. France has had nuclear weapons for a long time. France has always had a very strong military. There's a very strong military in Italy that a lot of people are apparently surprised in many aspects bigger than than the UK. In talking about UK, which is also part of Europe, now they're realizing that more than ever. But UK also has nuclear weapons, even though a lot more linked to US support. France is nuclear capable on its own, and what Macron is saying now is we are extending our nuclear umbrella to all of Europe. Oh, but Russia has more. It's not about how many nukes you have. If you have how many do you need? A dozen, 100, 200 nukes? How many do you plan on dropping? Thousands? All right. There's really not much more you can drop on. If you start looking at cities, let's say it comes down to it. Let's say Russia starts blowing up all of Europe. Well, there's a couple of things you have to keep in mind. First of all, Russia has nuclear weapons. Yes, Russia has enough nuclear weapons to blow up all of the world several times over. Now, there is a big difference between blowing up the United States and blowing up Europe. What are you going to shoot first? What is it going to be? Ukraine? Well, no. I mean, everywhere you look at Ukraine, let's say they nuke Kiev, right? Which would be like, Russia has finally had enough with all of these, all of the woke agenda from Ukraine, and they decide to nuke Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. Well, it is 99% of the time that whatever you throw in Kiev is going to be in Moscow in less than 24 hours because of the wind. So you have to be very careful with that. You see what happened with Chernobyl. You had you have radioactive dust half the way around the world, definitely right across the border in Russia. So no, it's not just about, we're going to turn all of Ukraine into a glass parking lot because it's your neighbor. It's not freaking United States at the other end of the world. And even then, you have to be careful what you do with nukes. But still, it is far away. This is right there. This is right next to you. This is like you blowing the shit out of all of Mexico with nukes. I'm not sure about the wind where it's going, but I do know because I was checking that for over a year. And it's always pointing in the same direction. It's pointing in the direction of Russia. So, dropping nukes over there, not as cool of an idea. What about Poland? Well, also very close. Not only that, you have parts of Russia on both sides of Poland, right? With that Kaliningrad thing that you have over there, the little piece of Russia settlement. Again, you have to be very careful about that. And then on the other hand, you have that the other guys also have nukes. So maybe you don't have 1,000, but you have what? What is it that it has? France has 500 nukes. I'm sure that they're in proper condition, which is a big question mark of what Russia has. But a few hundred nukes, there's nothing in Russia that deserves even a dozen nukes. So France alone has more than enough nukes to blow up all of Russia, not 2, 3 times, 10 times over. There's just not enough damn Russia to blow up, right? There's just not enough of it. You have maybe a dozen cities that are worthy of blowing the crap out of it. And that's it. So, this is the famous mutual destruction insurance that you have, which the United States has bragged about for decades, and I believe rightfully so. This idea, you should me, I should you, so we all behave, but with nukes. I believe that. I believe in the nuclear deterrent that has been a classic of U.S. defense for so many years. Apparently now that's all gone. Now you have to surrender to Russia because, World War III. Well, no. If you have nukes and they use it, you can use those too. And this guy, President of France, knows that he has that ready to go. He can't do that. Now what he's saying is he's extending that nuclear umbrella to all of Europe. Meaning, Russia, Putin, if you attack this country, you're getting nuked. And Russia does not like that one bit. Russia has already been saying that that he's a dictator. He's Macron mean. Macron is very bad. Lavrov has been crying about this, that he's being threatened. He's literally, you guys will love this. Lavrov has been saying that Macron is literally Hitler right now. That's the word he's using. So this is Hitler Macron. Yeah, draw a little mustache. Why? Because they don't like it. Because these are bullies. And when you get a bully and you say, hey, you know what? We will blow the shit out of you too if you start this thing. They don't like it. They don't like France extending its nuclear deterrent to all over Europe. They don't like Europe uniting. They don't like the idea of Europe organizing a European army. They certainly don't like the idea of Europe having boots on the ground so as to ensure peace in the border in which they're still right now invading in Ukraine. But that's the way it's going to be, because if you don't do something about it, they just keep on moving forward. They just keep advancing. So if you want to have peace, you have to make sure you can actually keep that peace and actually have that. Because as of right now, you don't have it. And just waiting for the United States to do something that they've been... And you have to admit it, this has been extremely clear that Trump has said it again since his first term. He does not want to get involved with the security of Europe anymore. Dismantle NATO, get rid of it, everyone to themselves. Now, that's a very different story from actually siding with Russia. That would be fucked up beyond comprehension, but at this point, who knows, right? Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's not going to be a hot war between Europe and US and Russia together, which would at the same time be extremely harmful for the United States as well. I mean, what are you left with? You're left with what? Russia, China? Not China. You're in a tariff war right now. Russia's not an economy. Russia is it's nothing really, right? In terms of an economic trade partner, the only one you have left, literally in the entire planet. Yeah, it is very weird what's going on. It is extremely suspicious. I want to do another video on the economic insanity going on right now, which it just makes no sense unless you're a little bit of a conspiracy theorist and you see things as, why would you do this to your fucking self? I don't get it. Or maybe I do get it and I don't want to share that with you folks because it's a little bit more on the fringe side of things. You have your own ideas. Let me know in the comments below why you think we're seeing all of this. What is the 4D, 5D chess move going on here? And what are your theories about all of this? Guys, see you later. Take care. Have a good one.